There were shocking lapses in the Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Nijjar murder investigations, according to a report. And let me get you details. The Canadian police, according to this report in the Washington Post, were late to the crime scene after Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Nijjar was killed on the 18th of June. Precious time was wasted in a tussle between the Surrey police and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on who would head the investigations. Police also did not initially question either locals or eyewitnesses or even collect CCTV camera images from the crime scene. Public help was sought to identify suspects only on the 21st of July. So 18th of June, who was killed, 21st of July, public help was sought more than a month after the killing. And the police took close to 2 months to seek help to identify the silver Toyota vehicle. And on the broadcast, we will get to these shocking details of what's being now described as a botched investigation in the killing of the Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Nijjar. 18th of June was when he was killed. Today, it's the 26th of September. More than 3 months into this investigation, police in Canada, they do not have a single suspect. They don't have a single accused in custody, let alone a charge sheet or evidence. And yet, based on some claimed intelligence input, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sought to blame India. Is this how investigations are carried out and allies blamed in a country that claims to follow rule-based order? I'm Gaurav Sawant. Much more on this big story. But first, as always, the headlines on India First. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar calls out Canada over support to Khalistanis, says political convenience cannot determine response to terrorism and extremism. Kaveri water war boils over. Massive protests in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Water Management Board asks for 3,000 cusecs of water to be released to Tamil Nadu. Mega Maryada Purushottam Sri Ram Mandir consecration to be held next year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend the Pran Pratishtha ceremony on the 22nd of January 2024. India clinches the historic equestrian gold medal at the Asian Games, breaks a 41-year-old drought. India's medal tally rises to 14. And India Today Group founder and editor-in-chief Arun Puri honored by the All India Management Association. Arun Puri felicitated with the Managing India Award for lifetime contribution to media. Our top story, 50 bullets were fired in the direction of Canadian Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar on the 18th of June. 34 bullets hit him. Anywhere in the world, anywhere, there would have been nationwide outrage and demand to arrest the accused immediately. In Canada, police arrived late to the crime scene. Now this, according to a report in the Washington Post. And then there was reportedly a tussle between the Surrey police and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on who would head investigations. No efforts apparently were made initially to speak to locals or pick up CCTV images from near the crime scene. We bring you much more on what's now being described as a botched up investigation in Canada.
Canadian security agencies have been actively pursuing credible allegations of a potential link between agents of the government of India and the killing of a Canadian citizen, Hardeep Singh Nijjar.
An allegation that India vehemently rejected from the very beginning. Accusations regarding the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, the Canadian government contends, were partly based on intelligence shared by a key member of the Five Eyes alliance. In an unexpected turn of events, a Washington Post report has now turned those very allegations on their head. The Washington Post report, relying on CCTV footage and witness interviews, suggests possible lapses in policing and intelligence on the day of the killing at the Gurdwara in Surrey. Investigators failed to adequately inform members of the local Sikh community about their inquiry into the June 18th killing. Police response was reportedly delayed. Intra-agency disagreements further prolonged the investigation. Residents also claim that investigators did not promptly request access to the CCTV footage. The Washington Post also provided an account of the 90-second security camera footage capturing Nijjar's murder. According to the news report, a sedan blocked Nijjar's truck as he attempted to leave the Gurdwara parking lot. Two individuals wearing hooded sweatshirts emerged from the car, brandishing a firearm at the truck's driver's seat. Subsequently, investigators discovered that 50 bullets were fired during that incident. 34 of them struck Nijjar. The sedan fled the scene and the perpetrators remained at large. The Gurdwara leader even mentioned the discovery of a tracking device attached to Nijjar's car wheel. If this doesn't constitute a failure in Canadian law enforcement and intelligence, then what does? Bureau Report, India Today.
So let's try and make sense of these developments. So what are these credible allegations that speak of a potential link that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau relied on to blame agents of India? Was it langar gossip? Joining me on India First is White Claypool. Senior journalist, works for the National Telegraph, joins us from Alberta, Canada. Dr. Vikram Singh is a former Director General of Police, is an ace investigator himself. My first question is to India Today's Anisha Mathur, who joins us live from Canada. Anisha, any evidence, any suspects, any details of probe shared by the police in Canada so far?
Well, Gaurav, we've been speaking to the people here. I'm, of course, on the other side of Canada. I'm in Toronto, and I'm trying to speak to people in both Vancouver and Toronto right now. And what is being said repeatedly by people here, by politicians here, is that they are also waiting for credible evidence. Just yesterday, we've got news reports where a former Solicitor General of British Columbia, Mr. Heed, has in fact questioned why there was some sort of a delay in the investigation, how this kind of politicization of this issue was allowed to happen in the first place. Now, of course, we're discussing this Washington Post story where it seems that the investigative reporting has revealed that the police has had a turf war initially between the municipal and federal police, and then there has been claims made by the locals there in Surrey that for several days they have not even been questioned by the police. So a lot of questions are being raised about the investigation, about what is happening really, and its impact on the India-Canada relationship.
You know, what's extremely interesting is the fact that has Justin Trudeau's statement actually prejudiced the investigation? Can there be a free, fair and impartial investigation when the Prime Minister already says so-and-so is the accused, when there is no evidence to say that? And let me bring in White Claypool for more on this. White, Hardeep Nijjar was shot dead on the 18th of June. Today is the 26th of September. What should we make of the probe in Canada if there are no accused, no arrest, no charge sheet in the case yet, and India is being blamed by the Prime Minister of Canada?
Well, that's the whole frustrating thing about the case right now, is that even if Justin Trudeau has really good evidence, he hasn't shown anyone, you don't accuse anyone without actually laying the evidence down. I don't really like this whole take my word for it kind of a thing. But in Canada, when you actually read about how the investigation was handled, it sounds like we're going to be very lucky if we actually ever get to the point where we can prove who did it, whether it was just some random mob hit, whether it was the Indian government or whether it was just some random person. Because the thing is that when you actually read how this was done, is that as soon as the murder took place, there was effectively several hours of the RCMP and local police fighting over jurisdiction. They never asked local businesses for security tapes of the shooting, and there's a lot of other things that happened that were effectively just allowing whoever did this to get away with it. It's going to be extremely difficult to find someone when you basically gave them a 10-hour head start, it seems like.
Dr. Vikram Singh, what would you make of this? It's been 3 months, and the faux pas, if I may, or the problems in the investigations, and Justin Trudeau is already blaming India. Sir, is this probe now already damaged? Because if the head of the government already has an accused in mind, can the police carry out an impartial investigation?
Gauravji, Mr. Claypool and Anisha have laid out extremely very well that the investigation has been damaged beyond any repair now. What has happened initially, the jurisdictional dispute between RCMP and the Surrey police, then not to get the CCTV footages, then not to ask the eyewitnesses. And also you can well imagine that it was a very important part of Canada that a person fully loaded with arms and ammunition emptied so many bullets into Ulysses Nijjar and then got away with it. And no clue whatsoever. You really have to try very hard to have this kind of a dismal situation and make you look like a sad sack. And absolutely a picture of incompetence. I would not say that incompetence, but yes, you really have to try very hard to give an impression that you are so unprofessional. Now, Gauravji, the investigation part. The damage has been done. You have rendered people hostile. And what Prime Minister Trudeau has said, in fact, is nothing short of a wild allegation. No merit, no substance, no proof, no evidence. What I-5 say, they have, of course, technological intelligence, but technological intelligence cannot be all and the end all. And no court in the world would ensure a conviction only on the basis of technical intelligence. I may be talking to you, but that is only what the technical intelligence will tell you. What I'm talking about will not be revealed by technical intelligence. Therefore, the Canadian police have not done their homework. They have bungled it up very badly and have compromised the investigation beyond redemption. I do hope
it's
that
compromised beyond redemption, you say. Why, Claypool, has Justin Trudeau jumped the gun blaming India when reports indicate that the police were late in questioning the witnesses or collecting CCTV images? Public help was only sought for the first time on the 21st of July, more than a month later, and help to identify the Toyota Camry was done only on the 16th of August.
Well, the thing is that the problem right now is that we're heading into a case where there's probably not going to be the ability to really say who did it. And just because Justin Trudeau and the Five Eyes have signals evidence where maybe someone texted something who was an Indian official on the ground that sounds like he would be interested in seeing Nijjar gone, that's not enough to actually prove who did anything. That's not something that would hold up in court. And I think that when you're actually dealing with allies, you have to bring cases, you have to make accusations that would actually hold up in court, not just giving your best guess on what might have happened and then trying to basically throw your ally under the bus for it. It's one of those situations where you're just going to have everyone on all sides blaming each other, and no one can agree on the facts because they just didn't have enough when they made the accusation.
And Anisha, if you were to look at this case legally, you need to have mens rea, motive for murder. And clearly there is no motive that is established. India is on a high when it comes to our success in G20 and Chandrayaan. Wouldn't want to be linked up to some third-rate terrorist being killed when anyways an effort is being made to have him extradited to India.
Well, Gaurav, as you know, I cover legal issues as far as our coverage in India is concerned, and being looking at it from a legal perspective, being a lawyer, these are issues that are going to be a very, very crucial question now. If there was a bungle in the investigation, if there was a delay in the investigation, if there was a turf war between the federal and provincial police, if there was a delay in getting the CCTV footage or questioning the eyewitnesses or any persons around, And from what we see in these reports is the fact that the identification of those people and even the car that was allegedly used in this crime was not done on time. Going by the fact that India and Canada have a similar kind of criminal law, we're all based in the common law British criminal law system. These are questions that even the court, if this case ever goes to trial, is going to ask. At the moment, from what we do know, there is no identified accused person. We don't know who are these people, who are the shooters. At the moment, at least, the Canadian police or the sources have not made any revelations with regard to who these shooters were, whether they have been identified. So all of this is going to become a big bone of contention and a big question mark on the policing and prosecution system in Canada when and if this matter ever goes to trial. But at the same time, looking at it from a political and social perspective, we may not know who the shooters are, we may not know who are the people actually involved, but for the people here in Canada, for the Sikh population and the Indian population in Canada, the fact that such a huge allegation was made by the Prime Minister has created a lot of tensions and a lot of concerns.
I mean, what an irresponsible statement by a head of government, and Justin Trudeau should have thought this through. At least that's what is expected of a head of government. But Dr. Vikram Singh, 50 bullets fired into a vehicle, 34 hit this terrorist. Prima facie, this would be some kind of a gangland hit. But speculation apart, what would you make of the Canadian police not being able to follow this through with evidence, and the Prime Minister blaming India? Has this probe been damaged permanently? Has it been prejudiced permanently?
Gauravji, extremely significant points have been made by the esteemed panelists. I would only reiterate what Anisha ji and Mr. Claypool have said. 1, 50 bullets were found, 34 hit in the vital parts. 2, Nijjar also has a criminal history and is a proclaimed offender and a wanted criminal of the NIA and a wanted accused in many offences. Number 3, gang wars do happen, and this has the telltale signs and the footprints of a gang warfare on the basis of loot or animosity or both, because I have seen gang warfare and how the gangs operate. Under these circumstances, Gauravji, this has to be investigated. Now, the lopsided manner in which the investigation was conducted, delay in jurisdiction, delay in taking up the investigation, delay in picking up the identity of the car, delay in identifying the weapon and the assailants, delay everywhere. Under these circumstances, the element of doubt, and as Anisha has very cogently articulated, the benefit of doubt goes to the accused. Therefore, I would say, with so many lacuna in the investigation that have already crept in, presuming that you get the accused, presuming you get the weapon also, presuming you get an extrajudicial confession also, these lacunae and a smart lawyer will see to it that the case falls flat on its face.
Unless Justin Trudeau's only aim was to make a political point and try and put India on the back foot, where again, he's clearly failed. To all my esteemed guests for joining me here on this India First special, many thanks. But I want to now get you the good news today. The India Today Group founder and editor-in-chief, Arun Puri, has been honored by the All India Management Association. Arun Puri has been felicitated with the Managing India Award for a lifetime contribution to media. Arun Puri, who is one of the longest serving editors in India, was recognized for setting standards for print, television and internet journalism throughout his long career. Arun Puri was hailed as a pioneering media entrepreneur and a fearless editor who set a benchmark for publishing standards and led many transformations in Indian news media over the past half a century. Many congratulations, Mr. Arun Puri, and a big honor for the India Today Group at the IMA Awards.
I believe journalism is a noble profession, for it carries a social responsibility, just like doctors and teachers. There must be a certain code of conduct, although it is like a business, and the medical profession is too, but it still has a social responsibility. In journalism, seeking the truth as best as you can and presenting it objectively. That's the aim. Today, this is even more important in today's environment, where there's an epidemic of fake news, which is going to get further aggravated by AI. Truth is becoming danger of becoming an endangered species. And there's a tsunami of digital information, and of course there's WhatsApp University, which lots of people get their unverified information from. It is therefore imperative that journalism has to step up to the plate and do its job honestly. And it's required for India's democracy to survive.
I have known Arun for a long time, and he certainly contributed the media which he has pioneered in India, has certainly made a huge impact on the lives of a whole lot of people in this country.
Arun Puri, the visionary man behind India Today and the India Today group, he's a real, true media pioneer. I mean, with his leadership role in the media, Thomson Press, TV Today, vast range of magazines, internet, television media, he's reshaped journalism in India in a manner in which nobody else has. And I've grown up reading India Today, so I can tell you that Arun's commitment to storytelling, his media excellence, has truly been inspiring for me.
And he leads by example. Many congratulations, Mr. Arun Puri, and a big honor for the India Today group at the IMA Awards. That is all I have time for on India First this evening. Many thanks for watching.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a BNP Group company.
India Today Conclave 2023, October 4th and 5th, Mumbai. Listen to Sharad Pawar, Devendra Fadnavis, Sushil Kumar Modi, Supriya Sule, Swapan Das Gupta, Aditya Thackeray, Uday Kotak, Arvind Vijay Mohan, Ashish Chauhan, Pradip Gupta, Vijay Verma, Ali Fazal, Bhumi Pednekar, Kusha Kapila, Shehnaz Gill, Urfi Javed. Book your seats now. Visit indiatodayconclave.com. Conclave 2023.
On 22nd and 23rd September, ISRO successfully completed the CE-20 E-13 engine hot test for the Gaganyaan qualification and 22-ton thrust qualification. To put in simple words, ISRO was able to test fire the enhanced capacity of its time-tested cryogenic engines. This engine of LVM-3, nicknamed as Bahubali, has already proven its reliability and efficiency in 6 consecutive missions during Chandrayaan 2 and 3 and 2 commercial OneWeb missions.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM-3 M4 रॉकेट का.
But for a successful manned mission, this engine needs to be more powerful. To carry increased payloads from 19 tons to 22 tons, ISRO is upgrading the CE-20 engine. The upper cryogenic stage is being transformed into the C-32 stage with an enhanced propellant loading capacity. And that showed perfect test results at Tamil Nadu's Mahendragiri Test Centre. developed by the Vellamala Liquid Propulsion System Centre in Kerala, the CE-20 engine operated at 22 tons of thrust for 670 seconds, with both engine and facility meeting performance expectations. By the end of 2024 to the beginning of 2025, ISRO will launch its first manned mission, Gaganyaan.
ISRO's next big project is Gaganyaan, that is to send humans, astronauts of India, to the space where it is expected that they will stay for 3 to 4 days, and this is the rocket that's going to help them. This is an LV-M3 that is human rated, and that's why we call it as 8LV-M3. This is the same rocket that took Chandrayaan-3 to the moon, and the important aspect here is that on the top there is a modification where you could see nozzle design, and on the top over the national flag, that is a place where there will be a pod. There is an escape system also that is being currently tested, and this is the pod where the astronauts will reside here. This is a setup, and this is how ISRO is gearing up for Gaganyaan project.
The Indian Space Agency has shortlisted 4 candidates to go on this mission. They have already undergone initial training in Russia. Now they are undergoing further training at the newly opened astronaut training facility in Bengaluru. In the next couple of months, ISRO could launch the first high-altitude abort test to validate the crew escape system for Gaganyaan astronaut mission. With Pramod Madhav, Bureau Report, India Today.
A bogus, non-binding exercise aimed at diasporic seats. A so-called Punjab referendum asking participants whether they want the Sikh majority Punjab in India to become a separate Khalistan. The man behind the sham project, Gurbhatwant Singh Pannu, a lawyer of joint US and Canadian citizenship who seeks for justice communities proscribed by India. The 56-year-old supporter of Khalistan, born in village Khankot of Amritsar and now based in the United States. He was declared a terrorist by India in 2020. Pannu named in more than a dozen criminal cases, some of them linked to terror and other violent activities. The NIA has intensified its crackdown on Pannu. Over the weekend, 2 of his properties were confiscated in Amritsar and Chandigarh, and so was his agricultural land in his ancestral village of Khankot in Amritsar district. Slain Khalistani supporter and designated terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar was one of advocates of Pannu's sham Khalistan referendum in Canada. As per sources, overseas citizenship cards and passports of Khalistani supporters involved in vandalizing Indian consulates abroad will now be cancelled by India. Indian agencies sharing their details with airports to keep a tab on their movements. The NIA has also finalized a list of 19 Khalistani fugitives who are part of anti-India plots. Most of them living in the US, the UK, Canada, Dubai and Pakistan. The action comes amidst diplomatic escalation between India and Canada over Nijjar's murder. With Shreya Chatterjee, Bureau Report, India Today.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Hello and welcome to Business Today Television. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and with me today a very special guest, Campbell Wilson, the Managing Director and CEO of Air India, India's most favorite airline, at least the brand. Campbell, thank you very much for joining us here on the India Today Group. A year and a half ago, the Tata Group sort of re-entered the cockpit of Air India, and you, the pilot in command, if I may say that. How's it been flying Air India for the last year or so?
It's been a whirlwind of excitement and action. After many years of government ownership, returning Air India to the private fold, together with Air India Express, and then subsequently Air Asia India, there's been a lot of transformation that we've undertaken, a lot of people that we've brought into the business, a lot of systems that we've deployed, a new culture that we're trying to create. But it's been full on, but very, very exciting.
Do you think a similar transformation has been attempted anywhere else in the world, taking an airline back out of government hands, merging 3 or 4, trying all that you said, including a new culture and getting back market share?
Well, I don't believe so. I think certainly elements of it have been done before, public sector moving back into private sector, merger of airlines. But I don't think that there's been something happening quite of this scale. Taking a business like Air India into private ownership was described by The Economist magazine as the Everest of corporate turnarounds. And then you've got the merger of 3 other airlines. You've got what was the world's largest aircraft order at the time of purchase. You've got all of these things happening concurrently. So it's certainly a big challenge, but I think it's befitting of the scale and ambition of India and clearly of Air India.
Describe the scale, because we've heard, and the Wuhan turnaround plan is known to us, but for the average person, and of course the flyer, what's the scale of the ambition for what the new Air India will eventually be?
Well, I think the most direct evidence of that is the 470 aircraft that we committed to purchasing, on top of 36 or so aircraft that we've committed to leasing in. And that really is just the beginning of what will be the journey of Air India. India is already, by some measures, the 3rd largest aviation market in the world. It is growing at a faster pace than all of the other major markets. India's geography is second to none with respect to the ability to connect different regions. The diaspora is 37 million people, depending on how you count it, across all of the major markets in the world. Yet the number of wide-body aircraft and the scale of the network is still relatively, it's very, very small relative to what I've just described. So the opportunity for expansion is absolutely massive. The opportunity to reach the rest of the world and put India's stamp and the new Air India's stamp on the world is ahead of us. And so we're very excited by it.
Tell our viewers about the scale of the ambition, because for the average flyer, sometimes the difference between a wide body and a narrow body doesn't really come through. So what's the scale of the ambition that you have?
Well, I think that number one piece of evidence for that is the 470 aircraft that we've committed to purchase earlier this year, as well as the 36-odd aircraft that we're leasing on top of it. India is, by some measures, the 3rd largest aviation market in the world. It's growing at a compound rate of about 8%. Yet it is very sparsely served by Indian operated wide-body aircraft. There's less than 50 in the country, which is a mere fraction of what even smaller countries often operate. So we think that the opportunity to expand Air India is absolutely huge. You look at the diaspora around the world, you look at India's growing place in the global supply chain, you look at our geography, which is perfect for connecting different continents. And so we think this 470 aircraft is a good start, But clearly there are going to be further orders and growth in the years to come to put Air India right up at the upper echelons of global airlines.
I want to come back to a previous answer, which is the scale of the challenge. And I read commentary which said that because of the Tatas, there are tailwinds in favor of the revamp, but there are also massive challenges, including, for example, the merger. Tell us, where does that exercise stand? Because for the public, Air Asia, Air India Express, the low-cost airline, Air India itself, and the premium play that Vistara is, getting all of that together.
Well, it's certainly complex. The one that's most advanced is the two low-cost airlines coming together. They received their competition clearance to merge about a year ago. Since then, we have integrated the two management teams. They operate under a single CEO. We've integrated the reservation systems and most of the interfaces for the customer. We're in the process of going to deploy a common brand across the two businesses. And so essentially, they're operating increasingly as one. They are still going through the NCLT process, which allows them to do the legal merger and then the two AOCs to be merged into one. But effectively, it is now starting to operate as a single airline. The two full-service carriers are much earlier in the journey. We have received the competition clearance from the Indian authorities. We still have some clearances to obtain from some international ones. And again, we need to go through the NCLT process. But in the case of Vistara and Air India, it is two quite different airlines that are still evolving, and we will decide when they come together more fully. Low-cost airlines, it was very complementary because one was domestic, one was international, and they come together seamlessly. Vistara is a very well-regarded, established airline. Air India is still in the process of transformation and elevating itself. Ultimately, we will want Air India to be as good or better than Vistara, and the future airline to be the best of both. But we won't rush the integration from an operating and public perspective until we feel that Air India has reached the appropriate level.
When you unveiled Vihan, and I was there, and if I recall correctly, you spoke about Vistara as a brand. You said it will live on in some way. Those are my words, perhaps not exactly what you said. The sense I get from your answer is that you're still toying with whether to keep it there as a flying brand or kind of merge it in. What's going to happen?
Well, I think we've stated before that Air India is a famous name. It's got 91 years of history. It is renowned around the world. It's very well recognized. There's a little bit of work to do to bring it back up to the luster that it previously held, but that work is underway, and we've absolutely no doubt that we'll get there. Vistara is very well known and very well regarded, but more closer to home within India. So whilst ultimately we feel that the name for the business is Air India, there's certainly no rush to get there. And as I say, it's not something we'd rush into until we feel that Air India has attained the level that Vistara has, if not beyond. Now, we're bringing in a huge number of aircraft and deploying a lot of systems which will dramatically transform the Air India that is seen today into something that is very different. By the latter part of 2024, more than 2/3 of the narrow body fleet will essentially be new aircraft. A third of the wide body fleet will essentially be new by the beginning of next financial year. So whilst a lot of work has been happening behind the scenes over the last 18 months, the next 18 months we'll see a lot of that start to manifest in the public eye and the way the traveller experiences Air India. So I think the transformation will be seen to accelerate in the year and a half ahead.
In the recent past, there have been a couple of incidents which are basically consumer behavior related, but has that sort of taught the airline something that it needs to do better?
Yes, and I think we've publicly acknowledged that. There needs to be better training about how to react to such situations, and we're providing that. There needs to be better information flow so that when incidents happen, we become aware of them. There needs to be better consequence management that, regardless of whether it's an internal issue or one that pertains to customers or others, that we follow up quickly and take the necessary action. There needs to be a performance culture, that there are certain standards that we expect and that we will deliver. It's really fundamentally, it's about systems, about training, about people, but underpinning it all is culture. And that culture is deep-seated. in Air India. There's a wonderful service culture, but there are some elements of culture that need improvement, and we're putting a lot of work in to try and move this very deep-seated, very ingrained culture towards what we expect and need it to be.
Is that why you sent a recent message which said the old ways kind of need to change? You cannot continue down that path anymore?
Yes, well, I do a post every Friday to all staff in the company, and I use it, celebrate successes, give people updates on what's happening in the organisation, but also to demonstrate what the values are and to talk about topical things to try and help people internalise and understand what it is that we now expect, why we expect it, why it's important. And Friday's post, which pertained to culture and the need to evolve our culture to be in keeping with world's best standards, was just part and parcel of that.
Have you thought of your next Friday subject already? The one
I've got some ideas, but no, I haven't fully formed it yet. It's still a few days away.
Okay. I want to come back to the point about taking this company back from the government. When you inherited this airline, can you describe to our viewers what state was it in really?
Well, I'm not sure it's helpful to talk too deeply about the state it was in. I mean, the business had been operating at a loss for many years. It hadn't had the opportunity or the ability to invest in new technology, new systems, new people. There had been a dearth of recruitment of non-flying staff for more than a decade. But I think all of these things we've talked about before, and they're in the public domain. I think that the fact that the business still existed is testament to the hard work and effort of the Air Indians, but also those around that had contributed to keeping the business operating until such time it could be sold.
I completely get that, because it's almost a miracle that the airline flew in time. What's improved? What's changed? Because beyond what you're doing internally, but in terms of the passengers, the ultimate guy who really matters. What's changed for them so far?
Well, I can run off a list of things, but let me start with a few. So at the smaller end of the scale, all of the seats, the curtains, the cushions, the carpets on all of the aircraft have been completely replaced. We're now in the second and in some cases the third phase of going through this, so it's a regular upgradation. We've had a number of aircraft return to service with a complete, not an interior refit with new product, but at least new panels on the walls, new seat armrests, all of those things that have become a bit worn and tatty over the years. A number of aircraft have come into the system with that. New caterers around the world. We've upgraded all of the lounges in terms of ones that we contract from other parties, so that we're choosing the best lounge that's available in any location. We've recruited well over 1,000 of our own staff at the airport to provide more direct supervision and impart better service trained by us to the standards that we expect Air India to be. We've leased in so far 6 wide-body aircraft, with 11 more to come by the end of the year, to upgrade the cabin product. The new Airbus A350 aircraft, which will be the first into India, will come into India before the end of the year as part of a product upgradation process. And we've committed to the $400 million refit of all of our wide-body aircraft, which commences around July, August of next year, which will see the interiors entirely replaced. New seats, new in-flight entertainment, new lavatories, new galleys, effectively a complete replacement of the interior to bring it up to world-class standards. Website, app, reservation system, some of the other capabilities have all been upgraded. Call centre is in the process of transitioning to a new provider with improved standards. So we've been doing a lot. Now, I appreciate that there's huge expectation on Air India. I appreciate that people would like us to do it even faster than we are. But I just want to give the assurance that there is no stone being left unturned and no effort that is being spared to do this as comprehensively and quickly.
You are watching India Today, powered by Finest, be sustainable change.